Oh, darling.
Yes?
You appear to be desperately trying to get some work done, so I won't bother you with what's going on in the laundry room.
What do you mean?
Oh, darling, no. Typey.
What is going on in the laundry room?
Well, it's just a little water
Water?
on the floor.
The laundry machine is leaking?
Ooh, well, it might be, although the water does appear to be dripping from the ceiling, so that would be quite a coincidence.
The ceiling?
Yes, darling, it's as if it were raining inside.
Oh no.
I know, darling, this old house.
Why?
So full of charm, isn't it?
No.
Sure, you could have chosen to raise your family in a new build where the walls were straight and the floors didn't slope like a skating ramp and there wasn't a biannual plumbing catastrophe that cost somewhere in a 5-figure range, but where would be the fun in that, eh?
Yeah.
Come, darling, now you get the old towels and I'll start searching for 24-hour plumbers. They don't cost that much, right?
Hi everyone, I'm Andy. Welcome to Furniture Fables. Old houses, huh? So charming, so full of soul. Hair graying, bank account draining soul. Our old house is, of course, very near and dear to us, but she has thrown us many a curveball over the years. This situation was not so much of an emergency or anything. It was just this little, tight, awkward, and yet completely crucial space that just slowly drove me so crazy. One day I just started demoing it without really any firm plan in my mind. But to my great joy, my partner in crime and all things jumped in and helped me.
Today's story begins with this adorable little witch who apparently came to visit me in my room, probably hoping to cast some kind of let's go make a batch of cookies spell. But in fact, I'm starting with this picture because it's one of the only few I can find that actually shows a little glimpse of what used to be right outside the principal bedroom. There you can see a little bit of that bookshelf. It's kind of that white built-in closet material. Looks innocent enough. But here is the view if you are standing in the principal bedroom doorway. That's one of the 2 little bedrooms upstairs with the staircase going down, and there's the other on the left. Things are pretty tight upstairs. Here you can see our sweet old farmhouse that is well over 100 years old. I once had a contractor explain to me that the upstairs of our house had been, quote, cobbled together because it had originally been a barn. And of course, it's been added on to so many times. Well, it's basically a sweet mess, but we love it nonetheless. So with a house like this, I have found that occasionally I will just suddenly kind of lose my mind and start ripping things out. Sometimes that's the best way to get the ball rolling. And so you can see here that one day I just decided I couldn't take it any longer. That upstairs landing was so crowded and tight, and those bookshelves just had to come out. And so did this other white cabinet storage thing over here on the right side. With that ball rolling, John donned his yellow headband. No, I am not sure why. And displaying his immense intelligence, he ripped those bookshelves and storage cabinets out for me. Then I said, let's rip out the carpet. I hate it. And so he did. And do you know what we found? Not gorgeous original wood floors. We found this. Yes, some kind of linoleum tile that apparently would have threatened the structural integrity of the house should we have attempted to remove it. Things always seem to get worse in renovations before they get better. Here you can really see just how tiny the stair landing is. So we painted over the yellow walls with crisp white, and then I said, to the depot. And we got an inexpensive click floor. John laid it down, and immediately the space felt bigger and a little brighter. But speaking of light, one of the biggest issues this stair landing has is its total lack of natural light. The only source of natural light is coming from those 3 bedrooms when their doors are open and that small skylight in the ceiling of the stairwell. So I decided we needed bright, clean, reflective white, but also texture, or this small space would feel really unfriendly. So I ordered this very friendly light gray and white forest wallpaper with owls. And using this ladder and plank trick we found on Pinterest, John and I hung the paper on the walls of the stairwell. And then I began to shiplap. Yes, I too was not immune to this trend, and in an effort to save some money, I decided to do a faux shiplap look using a thin plywood that I cut into 6-inch strips. I nailed them in with about 1/4 of an inch between them, and then I primed them and painted them with Benjamin Moore's beautiful white called Alabaster, which is one of my favorites. So, do you remember that lovely ceiling light? Well, we decided that even though it seemed strange to remove any light from this dark little landing, the ceiling was so low that the mounted light always felt very in our faces. John removed that light and he drywalled the ceiling, and then to replace the lost light, he prepared the side walls next to the principal bedroom doors for 2 sconces that I had ordered. I loved their clean and modern, yet warm and unfussy farmhouse vibe. And I loved that John added a dimmer, a great effect for the lights that are right outside of those bedrooms. And though they are still just humble and a little bit dated shutter doors, those lights set off the entrance to the main bedroom really nicely. Okay, so that was the first round on this little stair landing, and I was so happy. The entire space was lighter and brighter, and even though we had lost a little bit of storage, to me it was worth it. Now when I came upstairs, carrying laundry or whatever, I felt like I could move and maneuver so much better. But I wasn't through with this little landing. Why? Well, those little bedrooms desperately needed to have their old carpet removed too. Here you can see that they had that same old tile floor under their carpet. And so the next summer, John and I decided that a high quality laminate floor would be the best option. And so, always thinking about the flow of our tight little landing space, we redid the floors. This time we had a flooring pro come in and he laid down this beautiful farmhouse friendly floor in both bedrooms and the stair landing, everything flowing from one room to the next, which again really helps this space to feel more open. All right, enter this little lady. When I saw it listed for free on Nextdoor, I couldn't believe it. This is a solid wood corner desk, and amazingly, if the measurements in the listing were correct, this should fit in my awkward little stair landing corner. As you saw in my earlier pictures, I liked having just some decorative accents in the stair landing, but I had actually been thinking that maybe just the right piece of furniture would be really nice, both for form and functionality. So I thought I might give this little freebie a try. I took it home and gave it a good look. It was super dirty and had a bunch of tape residue, and the top and the drawer were pretty stained, but its turned legs were so pretty, and I couldn't wait to uncover its natural beauty. I mixed up some Dawn soap and gave it a good scrubbing, and an even better rinsing. And then I dried her off and I set the desk and the drawer in the sun, and then I went to visit a lamp. This is a little lamp I saw listed for free on Facebook Marketplace. You can see it has a sweet little vine and bird, three-dimensional detail on the body, and I thought it would be really nice painted in a crisp white. It also had an older, kind of dingy lampshade. I removed the finial and the shade, and then the bulb, and then I gave the lamp a good cleaning. After that, I walked down to see how the desk was doing. It was nice and dry and ready to sand, so I started out with a 100 grit on my SurfPrep sander, getting out all of those stains that you can see there on the top, and also using it to get the duct tape residue as well. It's true that tape residue can really gunk up your sandpaper pretty quick, but this was an old piece that I was using, and so I just used its last legs to kind of take care of that tape residue, and then I changed it out for a fresh piece. After I had changed the sandpaper, I sanded the inside of the drawer, and then I also got that very grungy face of the drawer. I used my foam pad on my SurfPrep to sand those pretty solid wood handles and also to hit the curved inner sides of the drawer. And I also hit the edge of the desk as well using that foam abrasive. You can see how well it can manage that without altering the shape of that curved edge. I mixed up some linen white chalk paint by Rust-Oleum with an equal part of water, and then I brushed it all over the top and the sides and legs of the desk. Here you can see I brushed it in the opposite direction of the wood grain as well, so that that white pigment could really get into the grooves of the wood. And then when I wiped it back, I also did some wiping in that opposite direction as well. But of course, my last strokes, my finishing strokes, or in this case wipes, are in the direction of the wood grain. It's also really important to use a lint-free cloth, which I am using here. I'm using my favorite lint-free shop cloths. Wow, this wood just started to look so beautiful. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen on my stories that I was beginning to really doubt that this was pine, even though that's how the person who had listed the desk had labeled it. I asked folks on my stories what they thought, and a lot of people agreed that they didn't think it was pine. Some suggested elm, some birch. I have to say, I wish I was a little better at identifying species of wood. Well, whatever this desk it was gorgeous. The movement of this wood was so lovely, and it took this wash like a dream. It really was easily allowing me to create that very popular look, that Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware kind of look. You can see I'm removing more paint from the outer edge of the turned legs as I wipe it back and leaving more of that white paint in the crevices of those turned details. This is giving the desk lovely dimension, and while at the same time it lets that gorgeous grain of this wood really show through. You can see here how the white paint settles into the pores of the wood. It's so cool. Such a neat effect. I decided to do the wash on the interior of the drawer as well. I just gave that metal hardware a quick wipe down before the paint dried, and it just came off really easily. It was no big deal. You can see that as I am finishing up with my paint wash, my brush is getting pretty dry, and so I'm really almost dry brushing here at the end. And that's another really great way to control the amount of color that you want. It's almost as if it were a wax. While the desk's wash dried, I came back to that lamp and I gave it a little scuff sand with a 220 grit paper. And then I gave it a good wipe down to get that dust off. And then I added that same white chalk paint, this time in a full strength. Once I got that paint on, I kind of used a stippling action with my brush to give it more of a textured look and to hide any brush strokes. Okay, now about this lampshade. I hope that on camera this isn't coming across as the world's most beautiful lampshade, because it was not. It was definitely kind of old and dingy looking, and so it got a coat of white paint too. Yes, you can absolutely paint fabric, and the tight, taut, drawn fabric of a lampshade is actually an ideal surface for paint. I don't know what it is. For me, painting fabric always feels rebellious. It reminds me of drawing on the walls as a kid. Not that I ever did that, of course, but it is a great way to refresh an otherwise outdated shade. Remember that lampshades can cost as much or even more than a lamp body. And so if you can live with the shape of the shade, a quick coat of paint can be a great option. When I came back to look at the base of my lamp, I decided the white was looking a little cold, so I busted out a much warmer sandy color, and I stippled that on as a third coat. Oops, I can't forget that finial. After that sand color had dried and I had a nice warm base undercoat, I came back over with that softer white. Using that same stippling motion, this gave that base a really nice, subtle texture. The lighter, fresher white will be the dominant color that your eye will see, but there will be those little hints and glints of that warmer golden color peeking through. Okay, time to put everything together and see if it all fits. Do you remember those very awkward before pictures with our dated and dark and little and lame landing? And how about our unwanted corner freebie and our lackluster lamp. Well, here they all are now. Wow, it fits! The measurements were right, my friends. And now this awkward little spot has just the right piece it needs to give it the visual grounding that will really help to hold the space and provide a practical place for a smart and charming table lamp to live. And maybe a snow globe right now. This landing has changed a lot, even since my first refresh. For one thing, I've added an upstairs vacuum. This is real life after all, and it's a real house with real messes, and we needed a vacuum up here. In any case, what a lovely and happy place to land when we find ourselves at the top of the stairs.
So how much did I spend to refresh my little corner friend here? Almost nothing. The desk, of course, was free, and I used just the smallest amount of paint to give her that little whitewash. And the same goes with that lamp. You can see that I'm gonna need to go back and maybe even out the paint on the lampshade so that the light comes through a little bit more evenly. But I love how it looks up here. It is so fresh and it's just so charming. You may also have noticed that I did not do any kind of top coat on the desk, and that was on purpose. This is such a weird little spot, and I've never owned a corner desk, honestly, before. So I thought maybe I will just leave it as it is for a couple of weeks and see how we like it, if it is really useful in this spot. If it is, great, I will throw a top coat on it and we will be good to go. If I decide there's another awkward corner I'd rather have it in, it might get repainted. I hope that you have enjoyed this tale of our very awkward, strange, tiny top of the stairs landing area, and that you feel encouraged to go ahead and tackle that weird, awkward spot in your own home. Who knows, you may end up creating a place you kind of like to hang out in. It's not so bad, actually. I could sit there and get some work done. I think Milo could too. Thank you so much for joining me for this kind of different furniture fable. I think this will be my last big video for 2021, but check back in, I might do some shorts. I will see you though next time in 2022 for more furniture fables. You're here to help, I know.